Hey guys, this is going to be round 2, responding to ShwaNerd again. And I must say, ShwaNerd, I was quite impressed by your video response. I've been watching your videos for a couple years now, and I can definitely say I've seen an increase in both your maturity and the quality of your arguments over the years. So props to you for that. And as always, his video will be in the more info section. Let's start it off with him clarifying his position.
He latched onto this and said that, I believe the basis for morality is in desires, which is not true. This kind of misrepresentation sort of skews the a large portion of the rest of his arguments. The word straw man comes to mind, but whether this was intentional or not is kind of in question, and more likely it was unintentional.
Thanks for the benefit of the doubt there. The reason I took desires to be your source of morality is because at 2 minutes and 55 seconds of your first video, you had mentioned that you were asked about your source of morality, and a couple seconds after that you mentioned that you had a desire to benefit humanity, so I took that as your answer.
But I want to know what's so wrong with approaching situations and applying reason and logic to determine what course of action will contribute to well-being.
Nothing. What makes you think anyone disagrees with that? As I've said before in my videos, reason is like a lens through which we see reality. And if you have bad reasoning or misinformation, then it would be like a dirty lens, and that could cause you to misapply your moral intuitions. But what I'm asking you is not how do we behave morally, but how do you account for the existence of right and wrong? And I'll explain what I mean by that question more as we go.
And if you can't, if you can't even take somebody seriously if they won't agree that the goal or objective of, not objectivity, but the objective of morality is to, achieve goodness, happiness, these things that are positive. If they think that, misery and suffering is a good thing, then we just have a definitional dispute or error going on here.
I would agree with you here for the most part. I wouldn't say that it is the goal, but I would say that promoting human welfare is a goal of morality. But our real disagreement is not about what is moral, it's about why. See, I think you got the right answer but used the wrong formula. And all I'm asking you to do is go back and check your work. See, your formula, naturalism, cannot provide a way to the conclusion that certain goals are right and others are wrong. Remember what you said about misrepresentation earlier? Well, I think you'll find that under naturalism, each goal is just as arbitrary as the next, and the only real difference between the goals is how much you desire to achieve them. Take a look at these examples. Happiness for the society, happiness for the individual, misery for the society, and misery for the individual are all goals. And for all of these, logic and reason can tell us the best way to achieve those goals. Now, it would be easy to think of an example where you could fulfill your goal in the best or right way, and the goal could still be immoral. That shows us that just because there is a way to best achieve our goal doesn't imply that the goal itself is right or wrong. And as my argument showed earlier, and as you even now seem to agree, we can't determine what is right on the basis of our desires either. So this is where it gets interesting. So you recognize that the goal of maximizing societal happiness is usually right, but it is also sometimes wrong, like in the analogy of the organ donor. And you even go so far to recognize that what is right and what maximizes your selfish interest may be different. So you seem to recognize some facts about reality that your worldview, in this case naturalism, will ultimately be unable to account for.
Debating things like the objective morality of the Christian God is something that can be done, but it's not very productive to somebody who doesn't see any evidence of the existence of this God.
The moral argument is about the existence of God. It takes a look at things which you should already be able to recognize as true, and then shows that given that information, it must be true that God exists. Let's take a look. Premise 1 says, if God does not exist, objective moral values and duties do not exist. Now, it is at least possible that God's nature could provide an objective standard of morality, and it seems pretty clear given my arguments earlier that naturalism cannot account for objective morality if it exists. Premise 2 is objective moral values and duties exist.
If your goal for morality, like if the end goal of your moral system is to enslave, torture people, do all those things that, for the sake of argument, let's agree are bad, well, if they can't even grasp that simple thing, like their conception of morality is just, it's incorrect.
If you argue that there is not only a right way to achieve your goals, but there is also a correct perception of which goals are right, The morality is not subject to human opinion or preference, and objective morality exists. Now, if those two premises are true, then it is impossible for the conclusion to be false. Therefore, God exists. As always, test everything, hold on to the good.